لازم إنه نصير هدنة ونرجع عدورنا.
هيك شايف دمار، هذا بالحرب اخترعوها الأولاد الصغار.
ما فيش ولا مية ولا كهرباء ولا إشي إننا نشربه، عطشانين.
His eyes drift across the cracked ceiling, as if studying a secret map. No toy in his hands. Only a small piece of metal, picked up from a blast site. He keeps it like a grown-up keeps a talisman, or a piece of evidence they don't want to forget. In his mind, there's no cartoon playing, but a complex scenario. A side street, an enemy passing by, and a hand pressing the detonation button. He doesn't know Newton's laws, but he's mastered the laws of anticipation, how everything goes quiet before the missile lands. His imagination isn't a movie scene, it's a geometric labyrinth built atop the rubble, where he tries to reorganize the meaning of safety. Children elsewhere imagine themselves as superheroes. But in Gaza, the hero doesn't fly. He simply doesn't die.
الحين جينا بدنا نروح وصلنا داخل الشارع لو ضرب الزرع كل جار نزرع علينا.
صارت القصفة ورحنا المستشفى، وبعديها أجانا الخبر الصبح إنه ما استشهدت.
فقدان كثير من أدويته وعلاجه ما تلقاهاش. هاي الكهرباء، وهذا أكبر مثال إنه هينا في ظل الحصار تم فصل التيار الكهربائي والأجهزة عن الطفل في قسم العناية المركزة.
Psychological reports say the Palestinian child suffers from cognitive temporal disorientation. But there's no difference between night and day when the ceiling collapses on his sister's head. No line separates dream and reality when he sees his father bury the neighbor, then returns to finish his maths homework. In this part of the world, a child's imagination isn't a means of escape, but a tool to decipher impossible equations.
I received a young boy into the emergency department during one of the mass casualties who had half of his face and neck blown off. Luckily, the organs that are vital for breathing and blood supply to the brain were preserved. They were visible but preserved. And he was talking to us. He couldn't see himself, so he didn't know what he looked like at that point in time, and he kept asking for his sister. His sister was in the bed next to him. The majority of her body was burned beyond recognition. He didn't recognize that the girl in the bed next to him was his sister. His entire family, parents and the rest of his siblings, were killed in the same attack. That boy survived, and the next day I went to see him. He was lying in his bed and mumbling because it was so difficult to talk, and he kept saying, "Everybody I love is now in heaven. I don't want to be here anymore."
How do you live while witnessing death every day? How do you laugh knowing tomorrow may never come? In this documentary, we will not chase bloodstains on walls, but we will excavate the codes war has etched into a child's brain. Invisible codes that shape his reactions, his sleep, his silence, his simple drawings. The playroom is no longer a playground. It has become a lab of internal encoding. Every doll bears the imprint of trauma, and every drawing on the wall, a map dissecting shattered awareness. We won't read this map in ink, but we'll decode it through the fear that repeats, through silence that screams, and through the ash beneath childhood's fingernails. In the heart of Gaza, where catastrophe recurs like a daily ritual, childhood no longer resembles what we once knew. Since the war erupted in October 2023, the ground has not stilled, and the sky shows no mercy. According to a UN report released in July 2025, more than 18,000 children have been killed, while nearly 50,000 others were injured. Yet these figures account only for the body. What concerns us here is what cannot be seen.
Over the past 21 months of war, more than 17,000 children have reportedly been killed and 33,000 injured in Gaza. An average of 28 children have been killed each day.
The fine fractures war has carved into a child's mind, imagination, and sense of self and world. Imagination, the child's final refuge, has transformed Gaza from a playground into a psychological weapon for survival.
طلبنا العالم انهم يوقفوا الحرب ويعودونا على دورنا اللي راح ونرجع المدرسة ونعرف نقرا زي أول.
ضربوها هنا بعدين ارتمت في حضن ماما ما كنتش مصدق كل حاجة.
أنا لسه ما عرفوش إن أنا في ماكيكة. بدي أنام وزقعان ومش قادر أقف ولا قادر أعمل ولا شيء. بدي أروح حضرنا هم من كل شيء أنا.
The child no longer imagines jungle adventures or riding clouds, but envisions survival scripts. A missile falls, a wall collapses, a shelter shuts. Save the Children reports that 82% of Gaza's children reenact violent scenes they have witnessed through daily play and drawings. In psychology, this is known as defensive reenactment, a mental mechanism that reorders tragedy into a form the child can, at least superficially, control. Here, the toy is no longer just a toy. It becomes an unconscious attempt to reclaim pain and tame catastrophe. Time itself has crumbled, like the buildings. A child raised under bombardment no longer distinguishes between day and night, between yesterday and today. A War Child report documents testimonies of children who believe the shelling has never stopped, even during ceasefires. This phenomenon is known as chronological disorder, meaning the child loses the ability to perceive the sequence of events, turning the present into fog, the past into a loop, and the future into a sealed door. A UNICEF study shows that 43% of children prefer silence, even in therapeutic sessions. But drawing, in this context, becomes a form of inner resistance. 67% of children draw destroyed homes, and 58% use red as their primary color. According to 2025 data from the Gaza Community Mental Health Program, more than 70% of children exhibit symptoms of psychological withdrawal and panic attacks. Drawing is no longer just an artistic act, It is a neurological language through which the child pours out emotional chaos. But the war's impact goes beyond behavior or emotion. It reaches into the very fabric of the brain. A 2019 study published in Frontiers in Psychology shows that children living under continuous trauma exhibit profound biological changes in brain structure. A 2025 report by the World Health Organization confirms that most children in Gaza remain in a constant state of neural alert, even when everything around them is silent.
It's horrific. And the children of Gaza should not have to pay the price, as all children have done in the past, for the sins of anyone around them. This just has to stop. Any right-thinking human being will stand up and say this just must stop.
The symptoms? Chronic anxiety, insomnia, panic attacks, and exaggerated responses to even the slightest sounds or movements. Everything around the child is perceived as a threat because their nervous system has never known what safety feels like. What war does is not confined to behavior. It reaches the brain's core. The result? A nervous system that remains at war even after the bombs stop falling. And this brings us to the heart of the truth. War does not end when the weapons go silent. It keeps replaying itself inside young minds, in the child's sleep, in their silence, in their distorted imagination. But to speak of the impact without naming the perpetrator is a betrayal of truth. The Israeli occupation is the root cause of this ongoing hemorrhage. Through policies of siege, the targeting of homes and schools, and the creation of a reality with no horizon. What's happening isn't merely war trauma. It is a systematic strategy to dismantle the psychological and cognitive foundation of an entire generation.
أنا بحلم إنه أنا صرت في البيت. إنه في أشخاص كانوا ميتين رجعوا للحياة تاني.
لما كان عندنا حياة يعني قبل الحرب كنت أفكر كيف كنا بنصحى وعندنا الدار موجودة، الخزانة، كل شيء كان هنا.
Long-term studies indicate that children raised in chronic war environments are more likely to suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD, chronic depression, personality disorders, difficulties in focus and learning, disturbances in social relationships. A World Health Organization report warns that these effects may not appear immediately, but can persist for decades. They may later impair these children's ability to love, to make decisions, and to build balanced futures. True reconstruction doesn't begin with cement. It begins from within, from a childhood never given the chance to be innocent, and from an imagination that was never meant to mimic the bombing, but to build the dream.